Good evening. COP26 is now just days away. Over the next fortnight, tens of thousands of delegates will try to thrash out a deal to respond to the climate emergency. All eyes will be on the Glasgow summit. Among them, the Scots who've been doing their bit to preserve and improve the world around us. Laura Piper has been meeting some of these climate champions.
In this tiny patch of the Cairngorms, we're about to witness an incredible moment in the battle to protect life on our planet.
There he is in his new little home.
A species is being brought back from the edge of extinction. Pine hoverflies haven't been seen in the wild for more than 8 years in the UK.
Deforestation, fragmentation of habitat, that's the main reason why the pine hoverfly is slowly going extinct.
But now, thanks to a breeding project, hundreds of young hoverflies are being released in these man-made stumps to try and boost their numbers.
Not really very majestic.
Not at all majestic.
One person who came along for the big moment is Xander, also known as Ant Boy. This 15-year-old conservationist spends much of his time highlighting how important insects are to wildlife habitats.
It's a one-in-a-lifetime experience, really. Just being a part of something like this is groundbreaking.
Tell me about you, though. This is definitely a passion of yours, and you've taken that passion and used it to share information with others.
We moved up to Cairngorms National Park about 6 years ago. We used to live down in Edinburgh. We just thought we need to get involved with the nature around us, so we started going to small events. The first thing was the Cairngorms Nature Big Weekend event, all about ants. I got really hooked to it. I really wanted to learn more about amazing insects.
Let me introduce to you the wood ant. In Scotland, there are two main types of wood ants: the Scottish wood ant and the northern hairy wood ant. These guys are northern hairy wood ants.
My main thought process is trying to share my knowledge with others. So trying to get others involved in not just volunteering, but just changing things about their own lifestyle, just getting them involved, getting them knowing things, fun facts.
Guys, we've just found something unbelievably awesome, and it's the gallows spider, and it eats wood ants. But it's so rare, it's only found in these forests, so it's super cool that we found it.
My YouTube channel's got loads of different videos in there, from how to build homemade moth traps on a budget, of course videos about ants, which is where my nickname Ant Boy comes from. We've just really tried to broadcast everything we know and all the hard work that people like me and all the other volunteers are doing.
So why is it so important that we protect these smallest of our species?
Insects are the ones pollinating the plant, so we get the food that we like to eat. They turn up the ground, so the trees get the nutrients they need to give us oxygen. And most importantly, they're a massive food source for many other species. Doing stuff like this for the pine hoverfly it's a step in the right direction. It's bringing back one species. We've only got hundreds more to go.
These tiny creatures play a significant role in our ecosystem. They're part of a much bigger chain, and like all pollinators, if we lose these, we lose the ability to sustain life on our planet.
So is that one on the wood there? Yeah, see, there's one there.
This guy is actually a bit of a chunky one. You can tell he's been eating rather well, and he's one of 20 in these jars, and they'll spend about 9 months in this form before becoming full-grown adults. And then they've really only got about 4 to 6 weeks to breed and then start the next generation.
This year, we are going to release 3,500 larvae over the course of the next 3 days. We're going to release another 3,500 larvae in March. And so that will be 7,000 larvae released across 3 sites. And this is kind of the biggest effort to get pine hoverfly re-established at multiple sites in the Cairngorms that's ever been done. Obviously, it's not a done deal. We need to keep looking after these populations and see how they're doing. But this is a real step in the right direction for this species, which is literally on the brink of extinction in this country.
One of the most harmful things for our planet is our carbon emissions. They contribute to global warming and pollute the air we breathe. One local project helping to combat this is the cargo bike movement in Edinburgh. The initiative, run by volunteers like Naomi, started during lockdown, and it delivers unused food from supermarkets to those in need across the city, all in a green and sustainable way.
There were people in Edinburgh that we noticed that needed food, primarily those that were being housed in hotels and hostels, those with unstable accommodation, and yet we were still noticing this very normal activity, sadly, of supermarkets throwing away surplus food that could be used by people. So we joined up those two dots, and for us it was always imperative that bikes were used and not vans and cars, because we are facing not only a health pandemic but also a climate crisis, an ecological crisis. We notice cycling bikes, and especially cargo bikes around the city, people wave to us and they smile to us and they chat to us and ask us questions, and it completely opens up communities in a way that if you're in a metal box just doesn't happen.
Do you hire those?
Yeah. Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Down at Toll Cross?
Exactly. Yeah.
Street conversations are, I think, the most exciting. People are curious about the bikes. They love it when they're filled with bouquets of flowers or pineapples or something really quite random. And they want to know more about them. They want to know how they can use them, what they're good for, where they can access them. And so we're starting to make this a bit more of our business as well. So how we can increase access within Edinburgh to cargo bikes, and also offer training, because I think people quite often will say, oh, I could never ride that.
What needs to really happen in our cities in Scotland to make them almost more adaptable for the use of cargo bikes? Or are we already there? Is it just a case of getting them on the road?
It's definitely a case of getting them on the road, and this is part of our job. We want to increase the profile of cargo bikes. We want to be able to show what they're capable of. But of course, the discussion will always come back to infrastructure and how our roads prioritise cars and vans all the time, but they don't prioritise active ways of travelling very often.
In just 1 year, the cargo bike movement managed to make more than 1,000 collections of food that would have gone to waste, delivering the equivalent of around 56,000 meals to people here in Edinburgh, with a complete carbon saving of around 2 tonnes of carbon dioxide.
Really, around the world, people are trying to be a bit more creative about how bikes are used and what they can be used for. We recently ran an event focused on the school run, so how can you do the school run on bikes? And we also share this space with Edinburgh's first entirely cargo bike courier service. And then there are organisations, there's one in Oxford that has been working with the local NHS board to transport medicines between pharmacies and hospitals. Yeah, I think the options are limitless actually.
Embracing greener travel is just one way of reducing our impact on the planet. Another way is to look at what we wear and where it comes from. In this old textile village in the Scottish borders, Alex is doing her bit by designing and selling sustainable clothing.
Probably back in 2010, 2009, I started to mountain bike. Decided, okay, I want to go and buy some decent kit to wear. I had a little look around the shop, and what I noticed was that about 80-90% of the clothing on offer was for men. And what I noticed about the design for women was that it suffered from the shrink it and pink it approach. A lot of the product was synthetic. They're obviously not good for the environment. So I kind of had that little light bulb moment standing in that trail centre and thinking I felt, or I believed, that I could do something better.
Most of the items in Alex's shop are made from merino wool. She's been using this raw material for years, but she's also been experimenting with recycled denim and even a yarn made from coffee waste.
Merino wool is a fantastic fibre. It is biodegradable. The fibre itself is odour resistant. And it's really good for the environment, but also really good for you as the wearer. That was the starting point. And then I looked at the manufacturing process. So traditional manufacturing techniques are called CMT, cut, make and trim, and there can be quite a lot of waste. And so I wanted to find a way to not have as much waste, and so the seamless garment is completely knitted in one piece, and that means that there is no waste with that process.
In the UK, we buy more clothes per head than anywhere else in Europe, but we send an estimated 350,000 tonnes of our used outfits to landfill every year.
It goes back to this, how many clothes do we all need? How many items in our wardrobe do we all need? So I wanted to design product that had a versatility to it, that you could commute to work, you could wear it to cycle to work or walk to work. And when you got there, you didn't have to change.
Where do you think the industry is in Scotland at the moment and across the UK in terms of sustainability?
The industry has got a huge amount to do to change. Bigger brands need to find a plan to move the business beyond where they are probably at right now. And I think that's a huge task, but I think it has to be done. And I think a lot of it is a change in lifestyle, and I think a lot of it's a change in consumer habits and how we choose to live.
And it's all these small changes that can make a big difference. Tackling climate change may seem like an insurmountable challenge, but this street in Glasgow today could look like this in just 30 years if we go green. More trees and plants creating a home for nature, cargo bike hubs, electric buses, and even extra spaces in all our homes to grow our own food. All eyes are on COP26 and what pledges the leaders will make, but we can all play our part. The future of our planet lies in our hands and the choices we make today.